The council meeting of August 24th. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Mr. Lawrence.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. That's a 6-0 vote for the clerk. Thank you. Brings us to the mayor's report. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I think we got a correction. Frank Bordeaux is not going to be discussing property insurance today, but we'll talk about the second health care. Okay. He'll be in first meeting in September about property insurance.
Okay, that's a night meeting, September 7th.
Right.
Okay.
As far as updates, we continue to meet with the mayors through Zoom and with officials from the, this was Lee Bond from Singing River, just an updating on COVID and some of the options that may be sending our way, especially with some of the vaccines being approved. I think Pfizer is approved and Moderna is shortly to come. But we've been meeting weekly, and so we'll keep everyone appraised of that. I did, over the last year and a half or so, been looking at things that we need to address, but one thing is, of course, the bridge. And I think you have a copy of a letter that we're moving forward with. And I think it's time for me just to read this and ask any questions you may, or answer any questions you may have. But the Pops Ferry Bridge is one of the two north-south connectors to the Biloxi Peninsula. Over the last 20 years, plans have been in place for a new 4-lane structure with no drawbridge. Due to the lack of funding, these plans have never materialized. Meanwhile, the bridge continues to experience wear and tear, outages, along with increasing maintenance expense. Based on the current discussions with the Mississippi Department of Transportation, using traditional method of waiting on federal funding would delay the construction of a new bridge for another 10 or 15 years. Biloxi cannot afford to wait 10 or 15 years in hopes that federal funding will be available. That's why in August 2020, the city released and advertised a request for proposals for a new Pops Ferry P3 project. That's public-private partnership. The goal was to hear from bridge builders about what they could bring to the table in delivering a new bridge to the city, including the possibility of a toll bridge. December 30, 2020, the city received 3 proposals. January 29, 2021, the city notified bidders it would continue to explore traditional public funding. The administration has continued to discuss bridge options with officials at the state and federal levels since that time. After completing additional due diligence, the administration believes it is in the best interest of the city of Biloxi to select United Bridge Partners' proposal. Its proposal provides for funding all bridge costs, including all future maintenance, and deliver a bridge in less than 4 years. United Bridge Partners would explore and present various options. If approved by the council, they will pay for design, permits, construction, and ongoing cost of operations. It should be stressed that this selection does not guarantee a contract will be executed or that the project will be implemented. Rather, the selection allows the city to proceed with negotiation and drafting contract terms and conditions. One such term would be reduced fees for Biloxi residents. Once these terms and conditions have been advanced to a satisfactory stage, a presentation on the project and contract specifics is to be made to the City Council. Workshops and public hearings would also take place before any vote on the contract by City Council. While this selection completes the RFP process, the city reserves the right to reject any proposed contract, terms, or conditions. I look forward to working with this company to turn this project into reality. And that's for you, the council, as well as the citizens of Biloxi. It's purely exploratory, and we're moving forward with exploring the possibilities. That concludes my report.
Nothing else then? Okay, we'll move on to departmental reports. I don't see any on the agenda, so we'll move to council reports. I'll start with Mr. Gaines, Ward 2.
Yeah, just wanted to thank Sherry Bell for the setup at Henry Beck Park for the Gospel Fest, so appreciate that. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Gaines. Mr. Lawrence in Ward 1.
Papa, did you have a copy of that, passed it out to everybody on the bridge?
Yeah, it's right here. It's on your desk, on your state. That's what I just read that.
And how long you been in discussion with this group here?
About 2 years we've been exploring. We actually did the proposals, or RFPs, and responded, and we kept researching other options. This seems like a way to proceed. I think these folks have had conversations with a number of you on the council. So we're, thinking that this is, again, we're not giving up anything. This is purely exploratory, but, 10 or 15 years is a long time for a bridge. We've already been in discussions for a number of years. Can't afford any more. I explore all options. And I think there's support on the council to move it in the right direction.
When MDOT said they would not do anything for 15 years?
Well, that's what the record has been. As far as when you're going to get funding for this, nobody can put their finger on it. We've been trying for 6 years.
And the money would come from where?
Nobody knows where the money is coming from. That's the problem. It could be, we've got some infrastructure. We've been in Washington trying to identify. This is certainly a big product. But one of the options is that if there's some money, coming that way from federal or state, ultimately comes to the federal government, this cost would be considered in the proposal with the bridge partners, United Bridge Partners.
If there's some money comes to the state, the money that comes to the state goes to MDOT, correct?
Yeah, well, it's coming from the federal government to MDOT to us.
And then we'd have to work with MDOT anyway to get a bridge or some kind of support from them.
Well, again, we've discussed this. We had a number of meetings in Jackson about this, and the years ago, or a couple of years ago, we talked to them, and before the current director, we were told, Mike, we're on our own if we do something like that, but that's not the case now. Yeah. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
No, you can't be on your own because you have to go through somebody to get the money, so we can't do it ourselves.
Well,
and like you said, this is
no, but I'm saying we couldn't expect any help from MDOT if we chose this path. We got to explore it.
Yeah, this is probably one of the most important things we need to get done in the city of Biloxi.
The most.
It would open up the city of Biloxi completely.
Evacuation routes, hurricane.
Having a 2-lane road that breaks down every other day.
Yeah.
It's time to get it done. So I don't know what else we have to do to put something in action, but it's something we need to back it up and do it.
This is the first step, real step.
Well, okay. And I want to ask the Chief Miller, could you come give a report on the little function you had down at the point last week? Mike Lynn and I went down there with you, had a toddy.
Hey, Chief.
I thought it was a great outing out there.
I appreciate that, sir. Yeah, it was 14 states and 2 territories that were represented with law enforcement executives mostly. A total, I think we had 582 people registered for the conference, so probably around 1,000 or more were here with families and all for the conference. Turned out very well. It was their 30th annual homicide conference, so we were kind of privileged to be able to represent that for them here on the Gulf Coast. I'm sure they'll be back. They came in 2017. They enjoyed themselves then. From all indications, they enjoyed themselves this time. So I think that they'll be back again probably every 3rd year. We can expect them to come back. We try to show them a good time. Had a bunch of vendors that paid for just about everything that we utilized as far as food and adult beverages and things like that. They stayed at the Golden Nugget, so it was just a walk over for them. That worked out very well also. Senator Hyde Smith also came and made a presentation there, and I think they enjoyed that also. So.
You only had one
Major
problem.
Wyndham's fried shrimp.
They did enjoy the fried shrimp.
You need more fried shrimp.
Yeah.
Mike and I were standing there with the line. They had 500 people going through the line. They had, I think, 2 people went and got the barbecue chicken. Everybody was seafood, seafood.
That's true.
So
We
when they
were
come
worried
down
about
there, they don't eat seafood.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good job.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Mr. Deming in Ward 4.
Yeah, Chief, if you would, next time you have a homicide conference, give me a call. It sounds like a killer party. Hey, I try.
That's funny.
Try harder, yeah.
The bridge, is it the United Bridge Partners? I did have lunch with them, and it was nice to hear what they had to say, and they actually had a really good grasp on what we need from now and into the future, extending it all the way from the interstate, giving us a direct route. And it was interesting to hear their proposals, and I look forward to hearing more about how we can make a new bridge happen. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett, Ward 7.
Just a couple things. I talked to Mr. Creel earlier about some trees on Shorecrest, and I think you've went out there with Mr. Amiguez a couple of times, and I don't know if any trees can be removed, but one of the issues is speeding problems. Mr. Creel says that the distance that they are is within, what they should be. And so I'd like to maybe me and Mr. Creel meet with you after the meeting or whenever you're available, Chief, to look at and see if there's some options on that. Yeah. And then I talked to a couple there, as y'all know, there's a lot of money available that Jackson's controlling for projects this year. So I've talked to a couple of our representatives, and they seem to be on board to give us some money for some of the infrastructure projects in Ward 7. And so I'd like to sit down with you, Mr. Leonard, as well, and because you have a grasp on, the order of, what we're wanting to do things so that we can get some of those requests into them. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Mr. Glavin in Ward 6.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mayor, that sounds good to have workshops on this bridge, Pops Ferry Bridge issue. However, if it's going to entail a toll or something like that, if that's part of the discussions, would that be better to go to a referendum to get the vote of the people, or is that something we just need to discuss
It's all part
and
of the
kick around?
various options. It's a lot said in a couple of words.
Yeah.
But, there are a number of opportunities that would come to, to me. You got to pay for it. It's $150 million a project. It's got to be paid for one way or the other. How important is it? Who uses it? The frequencies? Again, we visited Washington. There's a number of big bridge projects, which this would qualify. And our options are on the table. If we just happen to get $50 or $60 million of that, well, that may offset the life use of that mechanism, whether it's a toll or not. You remember,
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, we had a 25-cent toll at Bay St. Louis Bridge and a 25-cent toll in Pascagoula. Nothing new. But anyway, we
I
got to
think the Pops
investigate.
Ferry had a toll too
No,
when the ferry
That
was
was before
going
bridge.
over. But anyway, yep.
But all things will be evaluated, and the bang for the buck will be the way we'll go.
Okay. And speaking of bridges, again, I'm going to bring it up on the Cedar Lake Bridge, and I know you alluded to some of the infrastructure that our state and federal representatives are hopefully they'll assist us with and recognize. But currently today, can we go over that bridge, Chief, with a fire truck yet if there was an emergency?
Not by the way capacity.
Yeah.
It's a question.
Yeah, so I just hope we continue to keep that in the process on our long-range goals as we get these bridges up to speed and make sure the infrastructure is good for our citizens.
Councilman, just to remind, you and the council approved our submission of a project to repair the Cedar Lake Bridge, and that went to the Mississippi Emergency Bridge and Roadway Repair Program that they have every year. They set aside $50 million for emergency bridge repairs. So that's in the queue now for consideration for that program.
Do those fortifications still allow us to go over the bridge with a fire truck, or is it
Yeah,
just
so
to?
the project that is being designed, and the design's already paid for, the project is being designed, and that we need to see construction funds, would raise the rating of the bridge to a rating of 7, which would be capable of taking the fire truck.
All right, and that is a great thing, but we still have the flooding on each side, which creates a natural barrier. And as we know, that area floods quite a bit, and we got to find a way to kind of cure that issue. So, thank you. The other thing, and I think I reported this in a request for an assessment. but I just want to put it in my report today. Several fire hydrants, it's been reported that the grass is growing over them, and they're hard to see. Hopefully, we can cure those.
Ask Chief Geyser that question, because
All right, Chief.
he'll give you the answer.
We'll give you another chance to report if you, I need you up at the microphone so people can hear you.
Because I asked
They're watching.
him the question as well.
Okay. How's it look out there?
So it is overgrown. Of course, we'll do what we need to do if we're, called into action in that area. I spoke with Director Allen with Public Works, and they're going to take care of the overgrown grass. We typically take care of it when we do our yearly maintenance in the spring and flush and do our flow tests and that sort of thing. And then the rest of the year is either residents doing it right there in association with their yard or their kind of area, or Public Works type issue.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Sir.
And for Chief Miller, just want to, had a couple of citizens email me about some excessive speeding. I know that's in all the wards, but this is along the Pops Ferry corridor. They say, these are some residents that live right off of there, and they say it seems like it's kind of getting worse. So if we can kind of step up the speed traps, if that's an appropriate word. Yeah. All right, and then finally, I'd also, today, youth football is issuing helmets and pads to a bunch of guys that missed their season last year. And so I'll be out there after this meeting for kind of assisting with that process, but it's good to see youth football returning to Biloxi. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Glavin. A reminder to the general public that I have a Ward 5 meeting scheduled for Wednesday, September 8th. That's at 6 o'clock at the Snyder Recreation Center on Pass Road. We also need to set a time for our special meeting on September 14th when we vote on the budget. We agreed that was the date, but we didn't set a time for that. Is everybody on the council comfortable with 1:30 on Tuesday, September 14th? Remember, that's the second Tuesday. Usually we don't meet, but this is a special meeting to approve the budget. Good with that?
Paul, don't you have to have it that night? Isn't that one you have to have at night?
No. Go ahead, Mr. Abi.
The public hearing is at night, that's on the 7th. But
Right, that's going to be 5:15. The public hearing on the budget is at 5:15 on Tuesday, September 7th, followed by our regularly scheduled council meeting that night. Then the following Tuesday, September 14th, typically we don't meet the second Tuesday, but we've got to approve the budget to beat that statutory deadline of the 15th. So,
It could be any time that day.
right, if everybody's comfortable with 1:30, which is our usual time, if the clerk could make a note of that, thank you. Let's see, we've got Spring Break or Beach Fest, whatever it's called, that's this weekend, and I know the police are geared up for that. I know the barricades are going up. I know the cones are going to go down at the crack of stupid Friday morning, bright and early. So just everybody be mindful of the traffic. I know, Chief, I don't know if you know what kind of crowd to expect. I would imagine it's kind of dicey given the COVID and that some of the events have been canceled, but the event itself has not been canceled.
Right, everything at the Coliseum has been canceled, so that kind of leaves us in a trig bag as we really don't know what to expect. It's hard to look at hotel room rentals and figure that out, so we're just going to prepare that we're going to have people probably from Slidell and Mobile that come for the day. The barricades will go out in case we need to block the turnarounds, but we're still up in the air on the cones, and we'll make that decision either late Friday or early Saturday morning, one or the other.
Thank you, sir, and thank Captain Dykes. I know he's involved with the traffic and everything. That's his
Great
plan.
job.
Thank you. The only other thing, Mr. Mayor, is I know the IP Casino south of Bayview, they've got their parking lot, and I know that Oscar Renda was working in that area in the North Project, and it's got all that rock down in their parking area. At some point, they're going to improve that and pave it. Do we know when that might happen?
No, to answer that question, no, we don't. It was on the radar a couple of years ago, based on the finishing of the Fayard and those Anglada. I don't have it, but I can reach out and figure, what their long-term goal is with regard to, I think it's a number of acres, but on the radar for March, the manufactured homes.
We'll use that entire
That,
parking
that,
lot.
that whole parking lot will be with about 60 manufactured homes, because this is a pretty national conference. It hadn't been happening. It usually happens in Tunica. So I don't think it'll be, paved before then, but
Right.
There'll be a lot of activity in March of this year. So I think there's about 40 homes that they will be building there and then selling after they build it. So it's going to be a lot of attention in that little area.
Okay, I'm just thinking a lot of people get off and that's the first thing they see in Biloxi. So it'd be great if that parking lot was improved. And I know they had plans, they were just waiting on the north project to end to be done with.
Right.
They realigned a couple of intersections. We vacated a portion of a street and everything. So it's ready to go. I'd like to know when they're looking to move forward. Thank you, sir. That concludes my comments. We'll now move to citizens' comments. We'll set aside up to 45 minutes. For any comments from citizens, each person will be permitted up to 3 minutes to speak. So with that being said, is there anybody on my left, your right, that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Just in time.
Good timing.
Like inventory, just in time.
Be sure and say your name clearly so the clerk can record it accurately and
Thank you, sir.
sign in with your name and
I'm in
address.
the wrong seat.
You can get in the right one.
My name's John Kemp. My house lives at 178 Hannibal Court. I live in the city of Biloxi. I'm here just for a few minutes to, first of all, thank your utility Department of Public Works. Throughout my travels in the last 8 years, I always look for the employees to see what they're doing. And the Utility Public Works Department are the guys that I see sometime at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when everybody else is kind of at home, comfortable. They're out there crawling through dirt, repairing, broken sewer lines, water lines. And I saw them in my neighborhood this morning before the sun came up. Most of the time I'm up, the Army's brainwashed me. I must admit, I still get up every morning, 4:30, 5 o'clock. And there they are out there just working, doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I understand that the city's in a little bit of a crunch. And I know you're considering changing insurance plans. And that's way above my pay grade. But next year, when y'all think about insurance premiums, and I want you to think about health wellness. We don't have a healthcare problem in this country. I'm fortunate to travel to Europe 2 or 3 times a year sometime. And the thing I love about the Europeans is that you look at their aging citizens, 75, 80 plus, they're on bikes, they're walking, and all of that is tethered to their employment programs. In other words, they're tethered to their jobs and to their community-based organizations because they emphasize health awareness. In other words, they're proactive. We tend to be a little bit reactive in this country. And reactive is starting to cost us money. And I guarantee you, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but if you take a 10-year span and you look at your employee and see what that employee is doing as far as health wellness is concerned, it probably will end up saving you more money than it ended up costing you money. So right now we're reacting because we're in a crunch, and I understand. What y'all been able to do through this pandemic is miraculous. I mean, the fact that y'all got any money left is absolutely incredible. So please keep in mind moving forward, like in the next few years, health wellness is why every other development country in this world is ahead of us as far as health care, because they think about health wellness, not health care. That's a reactive situation. We need to be more proactive. And in closing, Mr. Gines, I really appreciate you having the meeting in Ward 2, bringing the mayor out. That was a very engaging, very, very good meeting. I'm also here to say, please reconsider the fence at Bush Park. Please take what I recommended to this council 2 years ago about moving everything to the side of the tracks where you can put parking. My older neighbors don't understand security. If you put a fence around it, none of those single parents that come over there, those kindergartens, are gonna wanna drop off their kids and let them run inside of a gate. When you build a gate, you keep people out, but you also keep people in. So please reconsider spending that money and doing it to something else, like the parking. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Anybody else on my left, your right? Yes, sir. Take your time.
I finished, come on. Vaccinated since January. Excuse me. Take this with me.
Borrow your pen real quick. Appreciate it. My name is Greg Mitchell. My house is at 229 Fayard Street. I've got a conditional use application for a short-term rental in a property that's zoned RM30. I just wanted to let everyone know I'm here in case y'all have any questions. That's it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Anybody else on my left, your right?
Thank you.
Anybody on my right, your left? Mr. Nolan.
Eric Nolan, longtime city employee. I'm here to talk about the proposed insurance change from Blue Cross to Maestro. Just a few quick things. City of Biloxi employees' last pay raise was in 2016. We received 2% as across the board. That was also the year that we got to start paying for our own insurance, so it was kind of a washout situation. Currently, we have 628 active employees. Currently under I'm just going to talk about the family coverage because that's the bulk of the people that work for the city of Biloxi. Currently, we pay $1,200 annually for family coverage. We need to pay for insurance. We understand that. Insurance is a risk and benefit situation. With a $2,000 deductible, with the two proposals that have been put out there, y'all are considering a 50% increase and a deductible raise to $5,000, which would put an additional cost risk difference of $3,600 for each employee if we go with the basic plan. If the employee is making enough money where he can buy up for the buy-up plan, that's going to cost him an additional $1,000 a year, a little more, to get the same kind of plan that we currently have. You know, I understand that we've had a good thing with insurance for a long time, but I also understand that it may not hurt me as much, but it's going to hurt the guys that are working the crews. And I've got this. I just wanted to hand it out to y'all so that you'd have something to lay your hands on while you're thinking about it. And please reconsider the change.
Thank you, Mr. Nolan. Did that conclude your comments? Okay, thank you, Eric. Anybody else on my right, your left? Anybody in the back? Okay, nobody else wishes to address the council? All right, we'll move on to the policy agenda. If the clerk would read item 4A, please.
Resolution granting conditional use approval for a short-term rental located at 229 Fayard Street.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
There's a motion by Mr. Gaines. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Barrett. Discussion, Mr. Gaines.
Yeah, Roadby looked at it. Planning Commission approved of it. They submitted it, and Roadby looked at it. It's in a good quality place, so I recommend my colleagues to support it.
Okay. Mr. Barrett, any questions? Any other comments or questions from council? There being none, we'll call for the question. All in favor? It's approved on a 6-0 vote. Thank you. That brings us to item B. If the clerk would read that resolution, please.
Resolution granting conditional use for an auto sale facility located at 2015 Pops Ferry Road.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
There's a motion by Mr. Glavin. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Barrett. Mr. Glavin, comments?
I don't have much comments. This is for a Jeep. I think they want to sell Jeeps and other vehicles. And this is at the corner of Pops Ferry and, is it T Street or?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's
So,
the vacant lot right across the street from the Shipley Donuts. And this is a different kind of auto sales facility. All the vehicles will be inside the building. There will be no sales of cars outside.
how many vehicles is there a number of vehicles that are going to be inside that it's capped at, or?
If you look at the size of the building, there would probably be a half a dozen in there, but they're
Okay.
also in a position where if you come in and you don't see what you want, then they can order it for you.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Barrett, anything?
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Deming.
Is this location the old Goodwill drop-off location?
No, it's right next door to it. The Goodwill drop-off location is to the west of this, on the same side of the road. This is directly across the street from Mr. Malpas's trailer park.
So it's that corner that's cleared, correct?
Yes, sir.
On the corner of T or V.
So it's closer to T Street,
Yeah, it's right on the corner
Goodwill,
of T and Pops Ferry.
lot, T
Exactly.
Street. I got you. Okay.
Any other questions, comments? There being none, we'll call for the question. All in favor? It's approved on a 6-0 vote. Thank you. That brings us to the next item. If the clerk would read item 4C, please, the resolution.
Resolution authorizing self-funded employee and group health insurance with Maestro Health, ProAct, and Mississippi Physician Care Network.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Lawrence, second by Mr. Glavin. First, I would like to call up Mr. Easterling. Cy Easterling is with BXS Insurance at their subsidiary of Bancorp South. And I've been around, and the city has dealt with them on an insurance forever and a day. So we appreciate you being here today, Cy. I know you have some general comments. I'd appreciate you sharing them, please.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I know that this is obviously something that's generated a lot of discussion amongst employees and their family members, and I want to point out that really I'd like to divide this discussion into two separate issues. First is the question of, are we going to leave Blue Cross and go to the proposed arrangement with a different TPA, a different network, and a different pharmacy benefit manager? That is issue number one. Issue number two is, what do we want the plan to look like? Do we want 2 plans? Do we want 4 tiers? Do we want to mess with or change the employee contributions? So they're 2 separate issues, and if we could take that as such, I think it'd be a better discussion. So the first issue is, why are we here? We've obviously had a significant claims year where we've had above average claims. The city is looking for the first time ever to pay about $7.5 million in claims, or possibly over that number. Usually you're in the $6.5 to $6 million range. So I've met with the insurance committee, I met with the administration, and we looked at options. We did our due diligence, and what we come up with is an option for you to have the exact same network, okay? It's the Mississippi Physicians Care Network, same doctors, same hospitals. There could be a one-off here or there. Same access to doctors, same access to your local pharmacies. The kicker is you're going to save money on the administration charge, and also on the pharmacy side, and we can get into details if you want to, they have a program to significantly reduce your specialty pharmacy spend, and that's the big kicker in this as far as where are the savings with this new proposed arrangement. So on the pharmacy side, through their specialty pharmacy program, you are looking to save at a maximum $868,000 in claims, and that is off your specialty medications. The actual projected savings is around $600,000 based on utilization and trend. And the pharmacy benefit manager is also going to guarantee that you save $200,000 off of your prescription drug spend. So those are where the savings numbers come in. So what we want to do is, again, have a program where the employees show a different ID card, but it works the exact same way as the current plan, and you have the same access to doctors, hospitals, and your pharmacy. So to me, that's kind of the first piece. And we're looking at that too because we believe that this TPA that we are going to utilize, they're very data-driven, they're very analytic. we believe we can get some good data from them to help us as far as managing the patient population. Also, to the gentleman's point, talking about the wellness program, we are going to implement through them a wellness program starting January 1st. So more details will follow on that, but we do believe, just like you said, I couldn't agree more, that we've got to get healthier. We've got to catch people upstream before they're downstream and unhealthy. That's the only way to go. That's the only way to manage our claims. But in the interim, we're proposing this change as an option to save the city some money.
Mr. Easterling, that wellness plan, that could give a credit back to each individual as well, right?
We can design it however you want to, but that's what we've discussed, is to be able to give a credit back in the form of a gift card or whatever you choose back to the employees. So if we do have to go up on the employee rates, we'll give them a chance to participate in the wellness program and get that money back.
And by participating, you're talking about being engaged in those wellness checks and visits in a timely manner, so that if there is a health issue, it's caught early and you're made aware of those things. And I know you and I have had a number of conversations over a number of years. And currently, I don't know if you would have any idea of what the participation rate is with Blue Cross Blue Shield on the wellness. For some reason, I'm thinking, and this might have been a year ago, and we had a discussion, it was, I don't know, nationally it's about 30 or 40% of people who do what they're supposed to do, and it wasn't goal-driven so much as it was participative in nature. So it's not you have to lose X number of pounds, it's not you have to quit smoking, it's not that your blood pressure has to be lowered, it's just when you're prompted and you go get your wellness checks when you're supposed to. But obviously, and sometimes we forget this, we are the insurance company.
Correct.
It's employees, it's everybody who works for the city of Biloxi. It's our insurance company. So we've got to take those steps, things we can do to save money to make it viable so we can continue to provide these benefits. I also think it's worth stating that we have what would be termed a custom plan.
Correct.
That is probably better. I'm no insurance guy, but you're in the business. It's better than a heck of a lot of others in the Southeast, and maybe one of the finest in the Southeast. I don't know if I can go that far. I'm not in the business, you are, but needless to say, it's a good custom plan, and you don't see many custom plans these days. Would that be accurate?
I wish I was on your plan, let's put it that way.
Okay.
Wish I was paying your rates and on your plan right now.
Okay. Thank you. With that said,
I'd like,
Mr. Lawrence.
we had several discussions, the committee, and we kind of worked down to this base plan on the back page, if y'all want to look at that. And I don't know where this other one come from. This here was the adjusted one. I don't know where that one come from. Who put that together?
Diana
They
came
do
up with
that
those
committee.
figures based off of normalizing the percentage that each tier is paying for their cost of the plan. So currently, you have two tiers. And when I say tiers, I mean employee only and family coverage. Those are the only two options you have on your health insurance plan right now. Right now, an employee pays $50 a month, a family pays $100 a month. If you break that out by a percentage of what actuaries say the cost per tier is, the employee is actually paying more than their fair share of costs compared to the family. So I think it was a 14% versus 8%. So what we've done is normalize the percentages, and that's where the new figures came from Diana. All up for discussion.
Well, I can't see anybody paying $100 a month, $1,200 a year, to save $1,300. I mean, it's just backwards. You're not going to buy up on a tier when you put out that extra money, and all you actually going to save from $2,500 is $1,300. But you cost you $1,200 out of your pocket.
So what you're referring to is in the resolution, we have listed, right now you have one plan option, okay? You only have the $1,000 deductible plan to choose from. What we wanted to propose, meeting with the insurance committee and talking with the administration, is we need at least two options for the employee to choose from. We know that your young, healthy employees who don't use the plan very often, they don't need a robust, really awesome plan. They want a lower cost plan and save that money in premium dollars. So what we did are offer two different options. One is the exact same plan that you have now, okay? The proposed rate did go up on that. So you can either have the same plan, or we offered what we call a base plan, which is a higher deductible plan at more or less the same premiums you're paying now. So you can either pay what you're paying now, or pay a little more and have the plan that you have now. So that was the thought process behind that.
Well, I mean, the base plan, the one in the blue, that's supposed to be the base plan. That's the one we should stay with, you know. Our job here is to try to help the employees the best we can. No, we haven't given them a raise. We haven't really given much of anything, you know, and we do have a great insurance program. And the reason we leave Blue Cross, everybody's all upset about that, is because the prices just steady go up, higher and higher and higher. And you have less communication with Blue Cross than you do with anybody else. So we taking the shot, and we met with you, Kenny and Paul, and figured the best shot for us to try to help and save our insurance, to be healthy insurance for all our workers, is to make a move. So we're doing that. And we'll see if this company, they said they can apply exactly what we're doing right now. And you kept saying it, 99.95%. The doctors, the physicians, everybody. It's the exact same thing. All we can do is take a year and see what happens. But I'm not for going up to $195 in that for those extra. That's too much money. That's $1,200 more out of their pocket. That's a lot of money.
Sure, I understand that.
That's why I like the one in blue, which I guess that is supposed to be the base plan, according to what you have here.
I see them all in blue.
You all have that behind the resolution?
So for comparison's sake, and I totally understand with what you're saying, if I were an employee, and I understand you're representing the employees and the citizens, I totally understand. For comparison's sake, right next door, for a very similar plan to what you have now, $1,000 deductible plan at the City of Gulfport, for a family unit, they're paying $354.84
A month.
a month. What you're paying now is $100 a month. It's a heck of a deal. If you offered a Gulfport employee to pay $190 or $150 or $100 and whatever, they'd take it in a heartbeat. So again, I totally understand your stance, but as far as the marketplace, and I think Mr. Glavin could speak to his current plan too, as far as the marketplace, everybody takes care of the employee. They get that employee rate as low as they can, and then they do what they have to do on the spouse rate, the child rate, and the family rate. What you do is outstanding, and so you're in a really good spot. And so to raise that a little bit, I understand is going to be painful for the employees, but you're getting it closer to where the market would dictate you need to be.
Well, I just think since we haven't really made any kind of moves as far as pay raises, I just think we should do the minimum we can to make sure we hold our same plan that we have and protect them. You know, what Gulfport does, that's up to them. What we've been doing for them is protecting the people, the employees in the city with the insurance. You know, so that's why we do, that's what we've been doing that. And we're giving up to the old plan that you've been trying to get rid of for 20 years anyway. And once we lose that Blue Cross thing, we can't ever go back to that old plan. It's a good plan. They got some things in it's good, sometimes not. I'm talking about the original one we've been on for the last 20 years.
We're taking that exact same plan, that exact summary plan document, and giving it to the new carrier, new TPA, and saying this is the plan we're going with. So the intent is to keep the plan as it is.
No, we all agreed at the committee that we need to make some type of move to try to save these insurance for the workers, and that's what we did. And that's one reason we moved to this new company, and to see how it works, to see the benefits we have. But I still think we ought not move off the base plan what we have more than anything else. It's just something we need to do until we set up something better for the employees. It's nothing to do with you pay raises, but I'm just saying. So it's just my belief.
Are you advocating just doing one plan, or would you like to have two plan options at different price points?
Well, you got two options. We're just going to vote for one. I mean, adjusted when you did that, I guess. I'm not sure where that come from.
We can offer both of them, but if you just wanted to keep what you have, you certainly don't have to, but that's totally up to you.
Yeah. But I mean,
Mr. Glavin?
Yeah, gee whiz, we put a lot of hours, and for the last almost 100 days, we've been trying to kind of review these plans, and we came across this other alternative that seemed to work. So there's two things at play here. One is we can go to this new alternative and save, which we need to start saving money because we're dipping into our resources and we're getting backwards on the expense that we're having to, the burden of that expense. So on one hand, if we go with Maestro and this new alternative, we save almost $800,000, or we'll save around $800,000 a year. That's one thing. So that's good for the city. The second thing were these premiums, and the committee, as I recall, we had these amounts real close, even though we broke it out into 2 plans, 4 tiers, they were pretty damn close. But I think what happened is whoever got a hold of this thing and said, okay, it needs to be a percent, everybody has to pay the same percentage, it threw the family portion way up there, like Councilman Lawrence was saying. Because I think in the original proposal, when we broke it out in those 4 tiers, it wasn't that big of a, it wasn't skewed to $195 or whatever it is, $175, $195. So I think if we get that right and have these two tiers, or these 2 plans in these 4 tiers, I think it's something amicable that all the team members for the city, they could understand. Because it wasn't, it actually, we had the family, the child, the child went down to like $90, didn't it?
It did. I think the original rates that were proposed by the insurance committee had the current plan now, the buy-up plan. It had the family rates at $150 instead of $195, if I remember that correctly. I don't have that in front of me.
I'll read
Here's
them to you in just a moment. Go ahead, Mr.
And
Brown.
here's
Finish your
the
thought.
kicker on all this stuff. Even though you're seeing a slight increase in these, whether it's the buy-up plan or the basic plan, we put this wellness program in play so that if you hit these benchmarks twice a year, you could get this credit back or this incentive back that even lowers your, overall expense even more. So that was a really good thing, because we've struggled to, how do we get an incentive? Nobody has an incentive on the current plan. They don't go for their wellness checks like they should. And then again, the pharmaceuticals are through the roof. They're out of industry norms. And I'm also with Councilman Lawrence. I don't care what another city is doing or providing. I really don't. I'm not apologizing to have a rich plan for our team members that work their ass off, to make this city the best, to work their butts off to make this city the best it can be. So I think, Councilman Lawrence, we got to get those premiums right. And I think we have something that is amicable all the way across the board. We still save money on an annual basis. We still have the coverage you're not going to lose your doctor. I don't want to sound like somebody a long time ago, but if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor or whatever. But, I really do think we have something that is very useful, and it works all the way around for everybody.
Thank you. Let me tell you how we got to these premium rates. When we originally talked about this, I think at our last meeting, we talked about a base plan, employee-only premium of $50, an employee plus a spouse for $100, an employee plus a child for $85, an employee plus a family for $125. Now, for the buy-up plan,
Was that last year's numbers or?
110.
This,
hang on.
the resolution has different numbers.
I know the resolution has different numbers.
Okay.
I'm getting to why the resolution has different numbers. Not a problem. Okay. So I'll read those again. The base plan, employee only is $50. Employee and spouse, $100. Employee and child, $85. Employee and family, $125. All right. For the buy-up plan, the employee only was $75. The employee plus a spouse was $150. The employee plus a child was $125. The employer plus a family was $200. Now, during that meeting, that's where we started during that meeting. And before we finished that meeting, Mr. Lawrence said, look at these figures. And here are the figures he threw out for, I think, Si to check on. For the base plan, employee only was $50, employee and spouse was $100, employee plus a child, $90, employee plus family was $100. That's for the base plan.
110.
110.
Was it 110? Okay. And then for the buy-up plan, the employee only was $65. The employee and spouse was $125. The employee and child was $100. And the employee and family was $150. Is that accurate, George?
That's it.
Okay. So that was at our last meeting, which was, I think, a Wednesday. And then in putting this resolution together, because we never did get back after asking Si to check on that. So I talked with the business manager for the city and looked at her figures. And the question was, do we just leave those figures out of there and put blanks there? Well, that's too suspicious. Do we put in George's numbers? Well, we really just asked Si to check on that. We didn't have any discussion. And I asked her to use her number. She had calculated it. I called it based on the burden, where the most claims come in and how much you pay and all this stuff. So that's where those numbers came from. So when you look at these numbers, and these numbers are all up for discussion, there's nothing sacred about them. So that's how we got to where we are today. Okay? I don't know if anybody have a comment. Go ahead, Nathan.
I have
Mr.
a couple
Barrett.
of questions. Sure. So just so I understand our current insurance, right now, just an employee pays $50. A family, regardless of the number, if it's 2 or if it's 6, pays $100 a month. The
Correct.
individual deductible is $1,000, and the total out of pocket for the family, is there a cap on that?
The
Or
out of
is it
pocket right
no
now
matter-
is for a family or an individual. So the individual deductible is 1,000.
Okay.
The out of pocket maximum is 2,500. You double
Per
those.
individual?
Correct. You
Okay.
double those for a family unit. So $2,000 deductible and a $5,000 out of pocket.
So right now, the family deductible is $2,000 and then $5,000 out of pocket.
Correct.
Okay. And so basically, once you meet your $1,000 or $2,000 deductible, you pay 20% up to that $5,000 or $1,000, depending on if it's an individual or, okay. Proposed, we have two different, basically a base, and that 2,500 is per individual.
Correct.
1,000 or 2,500 is per individual. And then what is the per? No, not the buy-up, but the total deductible for each one of those, or, yeah, deductible.
Sure. So to answer your question, the base plan that you're looking at now is the exact same plan that you have currently.
So it'd be
Excuse me,
25.
the buy-up plan. The buy-up
Okay,
plan.
so the $2,500 deductible that's the max deductible you would pay for, regardless if it's an individual or a family?
$2,500 for an individual, $5,000 for a family on that plan.
Okay, so right now, these three categories that are broke down, employee, spouse, employee, child, employee, family, would be just family under what we have now.
Correct.
So an individual on the base plan is paying $1,500 more on the base, but as a family, you're actually paying.
You pay $3,000 more if you were to hit your deductible.
Okay, and then on the buy-up,
It would be outside of the premium.
be the same for an employee, for an individual, but it would be less for the family. So that $1,000 is across the board, no matter.
It's the same. The buy-up plan's the same plan you have now. It'd be double for the family. So it'd be a $2,000 deductible for the family and a $5,000 out of pocket for the family,
Okay.
which is what you're offering right now.
Okay, now, I'm not an insurance expert, of course, but whenever I started hearing rumblings, I went online and started reading reviews on this company. And the reviews that I'm seeing online, I know that sometimes it happens where what you see online is not, but that's the only place I have to go to look to see what kind of company this is. And the reviews that are online are not strong. It's not favorable, the reviews that I see on this company. And so that causes me concern with this company. Secondly, I tend to agree with Mr. Glavin. I don't care what other cities are doing. When someone hires in with the city of Biloxi, they hire into a package. One of the things that's attractive, that attracts employees to this city, is the insurance that we offer. I don't know how everybody else budgets their life, but whenever I come and I get a job somewhere, I basically budget based upon what I'm going to make, how much my expenses are going to be a year, and then I decide what I can do outside of that and those kind of things. And in the process of all that happening, there's a thing called cost of living increase. And our employees, and I know this isn't you, but one of the reasons that all of this causes me concern is our employees have based what they're going to do based upon what they got when they hired in, and so they've adjusted their lives to that. And then we continue to hit our employees. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it was, we didn't pay. Now we do. And then we're coming back again and we're hitting them again. Well, in that time period, they haven't received any increase. Now, I can tell you, I don't know if y'all shop the same places as I do, but it costs a whole lot more to live now than it did 4 years ago. In every gas, food, everything, it costs more. Now, the employees that work in these other cities that we're comparing to, well, when they hire in, they do the same exact thing. And they're seeing increases in their pay and things like that. So everything is relative as to where you're at. And so for them, even though their insurance may be more, but what they hired in on and what they started in, things are getting better for them. And we're continually coming back and trying to cut and make money, or trying to cut and to save money, and we hit our employees. And so I don't know what the answer is as far as, because I don't know if what I'm reading online is correct about the reviews of this company versus Blue Cross Blue Shield. But just the money factor alone, the way that things are proposed, I can't support this. And then the other question that I have is the $800,000, regardless of what we charge in premiums, we would save $800,000 in administrative costs.
It would not all be administrative cost, and remind me to go back to the review question, but what we are proposing is if you were to, no matter what you're charging the employees, okay, the savings here are moving to a new pharmacy benefit manager that implements a specialty drug program. That is where the bulk of the savings are. If everything works out like it's supposed to, you just save $868,000. In reality, not everybody will participate in that program, so they're looking at 600 some odd thousand.
So regardless, if we switch to this company, regardless of what we charge our employees, we would save at least $600,000 a year in what, we'll just say administrative costs, but we save $600,000 a year in whatever it adds up to be.
You're talking about a different, if you're talking about total budget, what you're, putting in the plan, I can't speak to that. But as far as just the claims, where you are today versus where you would have been had you been on this plan, because they took your claims data for the last 12 months and repriced it. And when they came back and said, hey, you had this much in your specialty drug program that we could eliminate, that's where we got those figures from.
Okay.
800,000 off that 7 million all-in figure.
Okay, so I have one.
That's factored in that figure.
I have another question, and like I said, I'm not an insurance expert, don't claim to be.
Sure.
So what about pre-existing stuff?
There's no
So anyone
limitation.
So
There's no pre-existing limitation. Anybody, regardless
of what their conditions are, if they switch to this insurance, they can't be denied for anything?
Not at all.
Okay. As far as how do we find out if what we're reading online, the reviews are legit, or?
If you want to tell me now or tell me later, I can address those reviews with the company. I don't know if it was a Google review or Better Business Bureau or what, but I can read about somebody online, and then, we've had the people come in and do a presentation, and we have begun the process of working with them to set up everything behind the scenes. And from what I've seen and from what I know and from the vetting we did, they're sharp. They really are. And I do know, just as an ancillary story, any TPA, any third-party administrator like Maestro or any other one, they might deny a claim, and then somebody gets upset and they write a bad review. If you go to a restaurant, your order took 2 hours, you're going to write a bad review. It happens, it really does. So I can't specifically address that, but I know that happens.
Well, what is their, did we look into that as far as, them denying claims? What percentage of claims do they deny? And
they're going to follow the plan. Their claims accuracy is 99.5%, so that's what's important. You may get upset because they didn't, approve a cosmetic surgery procedure for you or something. Well, that's not covered.
I understand.
Right?
Okay.
So that doesn't mean somebody can't get upset and go write a bad review. It's not reflective on the company per se, it's reflective on the employee or the member getting upset. Now, you sent me an email the other day, and I did address that with the company. I said, do you know anything about this? And they said, I have no idea where it came from unless they mentioned this one account that they have, who's actually a reference for them now, who actually, you can call them and say, hey, I think they're really good. So they are referenceable for Maestro. They started a plan called reference-based pricing, different animal. You don't have negotiated fees that you're paying. So somebody go to the doctor and they would say, hey, we're going to reimburse you whatever Medicare does plus 25%. Well, the doctors and the hospitals say, okay, great, but I'm going to balance bill the patient for the remainder of that cost. So there's always a lot of claims issues there. That's what that company started, or that group started doing. They were really upset. A lot of the employees were mad, probably blamed it on Maestro, even though it was the employer's decision to do that. 3 months later, they went into a traditional plan like you have, and everything's great. Okay. So could it have come from that? Possibly. But again, to me, that's not reflective on the company. It's reflective on the internal dynamics of how the health insurance works that the employees, wouldn't really be privy to.
Okay. All right. That's all I have for now.
Okay.
Let me get to Mr. Deming first, Mr. Lawrence.
Sorry. A couple of little housekeeping items first, just because I don't know what they are. What is an attachment point?
Okay, so you're self-funded, so you are paying all the claims costs. Every claim that comes in, the city of Biloxi pays for it. In order to cap your risk, we have reinsurance in 2 separate spots. Each individual has a $125,000 deductible per se. So every individual, you're going to pay the first $125,000 in claims. After that, all claims go into a bucket. Once that bucket reaches a certain point, $150,000, reinsurance pays all claims over and above that for that specific individual. All right, that's your first one, and you have gotten a lot of reimbursement money back from your reinsurance carrier on that. The attachment point comes in. What if everybody has $100,000 in claims? Well, that first scenario, you're not getting any money back. So we put in an attachment point. They predict what your claims are going to be, the actuaries of the reinsurance company, and then they put either a 20 or a 25% risk corridor on top of that. So if we think your claims are going to be $1 million, we're going to say, okay, we're going to put this number at 1.2 million or 1.25, and we're going to pay all claims over and above that. So that's limiting your total risk, your total liability from an insurance program. So that's what that number is there.
Okay, so the funding you're suggesting is funding all the way up to that point to where, it's actually a real cap.
Correct. If you look at the fully funded number, that's taking your maximum liability plus all the known administrative costs that are listed right there, and those are concrete figures. That's listing all that plus the attachment point. So if you fund that or have that available, you're good.
Okay.
My job is to let you know, hey, what's the maximum liability? What's my maximum exposure on this? And that's that number.
Okay. Can you also explain to me what the prescription drug manager or specialty drug program is and why that's so important? And if it is as important as you suggest, is it only available through Maestro and we couldn't use that same program with the Blue Cross Blue Shield?
You could not use that with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Cross only allows, if you go with Blue Cross, you're going to use their TPA, their network, and their pharmacy benefit manager. There is no carving out any piece of that. So if you wanted to save money on the pharmacy piece, like we're talking about, you have to go with a different network, Mississippi Physicians Care Network, or pick your network, and any other TPA. That's the only way that's going to work. So the way the program works is right now, if an employee or member was on a specialty medication, they would pay their copay, and then they would go get the specialty medication, which costs thousands of dollars, and the plan would pay that. There's no incentive to reduce the cost or participate in any, patient management programs. So what they do is there are all these, there's a bunch of money from the pharmacy manufacturers out there to pay for these patients assistance programs. And so what they will do, what the PRO Act will do, your new PBM, they will reach out to these employees when they are hit with a specialty medication. They will do all the paperwork and enroll them in the programs. It will pay for 100% of the specialty drug if they qualify. And then that money is what the city has saved. PRO Act does charge a fee of a percent of savings. I think it's 25% of the savings number. So instead of you paying $10,000 for a drug, they participate in the program, get it for free, and PRO Act just charges you a $2,500 fee. Now, not everybody's going to qualify. I think the number is $125,000 in income. If you're under that, then you're going to qualify for about 99% of the programs. So there may be a few people that don't qualify, but their success rate is something about 85%.
Okay. That program itself and even the whole Maestro program, how does that save the employee? Does it save the employee, or is this just a pure increased cost for employees? Because the way this is, if they do the buy-it plan, the family pays an extra $1,200 a year, basically 95 times 12, so it's like $1,140 a year. That's a lot of money for a lot of the men and women that work for the city of Biloxi. So how does this benefit the employee, not the city, the employee?
Let me put it to you this way, and I'm not avoiding your question. Let's say you kept the contributions exactly the same as they are now, the employee contributions, and we went to this new arrangement. The employee would see no difference, and assuming we had the exact same plan, they'd see no difference in the plan, what they're paying out of pocket, what they're paying at the doctor, any of that. On the specialty program, they would save their copay, whatever that copay ends up being, $80 or $100. They would save that money. But other than that, it is absolutely identical to where you are now.
Okay, so it is truly just a pass-through cost to the employee. It saves the city a little bit of money because we're charging the employees more. Is there a possibility of using the same programs and fundamentally subsidizing that employee's added cost? Can the city bear the burden of that if we went back to the same premiums as the prior plan and taking that $800,000 saved by this prescription program and employ it to the premiums of the insurance program?
It's your money. It's the city's money. You're welcome to do whatever you want. You could give everybody insurance free for their family. I know that's not an option, but that is a function of the budget, right? So if you were to make this switch, you can charge the employee, the family, whatever you want to charge them. That's totally up to you. And again, the savings are projected. I think we're going to get at least 600-something thousand, maximum be 848, but they're guaranteeing you $200,000 in savings. So they're putting money where their mouth is.
Excuse me, let me make an observation at this point, just because I track these insurance costs. Currently, after 10 months, with the funding we have set aside, we're $1 million in the hole, a hair above that. Last year, we finished $8,000 down. The year before that, it was about $850,000 down. Remember, we're the insurance company, so we've got the city's contributions and we've got the employee contributions. So I think it was in fiscal year 19 when we saw those numbers, we bumped up the employee contributions, and we saw, again, in fiscal year 20, we saw that come out to a real nice figure, about $8,000 down. We can live with that. That's where we want to be. This year, whether it's COVID-related or not, I assume it is. 1 year doesn't make a trend, but at this rate, we're going to finish perhaps 1.2 million in the hole. Now, when we say in the hole, where does that come from? It doesn't come from the employees. It comes out of the city's general fund, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, and your recommendation is that we fund this program at 120%, which we have never done. As long as you've been doing what you're doing for the city, and as long as I've been on the council, we've always funded it, I believe, at about 80% or 70%, somewhere in there.
You funded around that number. You funded a certain dollar amount per employee, per family that was that percentage 7 years ago. I guarantee it's not even close to that percentage now.
Exactly. So if we funded it at 120%, it would be, I don't know, 9 or 10 million, I think. And that being the case, that means the city's got to budget that amount and keep our fingers crossed that when we finish, maybe we have some money left over. Hang on just a minute. Several years ago, I can't remember, I did the research, I couldn't find the documents, couldn't find my documents, but about 10, 11, 12 years ago in the Self-Insured Reserve Fund, the SIR fund, we had $3 or $4 million, which meant the insurance company, all of us, we're in pretty good shape. We have a little reserve. We have a bad year, we have a reserve to cover that. But over time, that dwindled. We no longer have a reserve. For those of you who've seen, I call it Mr. Leonard's United Way thermometer with the risk corridor. There it is. What
It was
that,
the last year that we had finished with any reserve was fiscal year 18. We've been in the hole since then.
exactly. Almost, Mr. Mayor. Be patient. I know that's tough for you. It's tough for me too. But then just to keep things in perspective, just a slight bird walk here, because there's pay increases. And we hope to do something about that and have it in place in January for employees. We still got to work that out with the mayor and the council. But just think, if we weren't $1 million in the hole, wouldn't it be nice if we had $1 million every year that we weren't in the hole? We could give folks a 2% increase. Well, I don't think that we can do that every year. But the point I'm trying to make is the more money that we end up sinking into insurance, the less money to some degree there is for employee salary increases. Now, that having been said, I've said my piece.
Can
Mr.
I
Mayor.
return to my time? Was my time.
Mr. Deming, we're back to your time. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, if you have something to say.
Yeah, real quickly, and I think I'm going to, correct me if I'm wrong. We're booking this bet, right? It cost us $7 million last time all in, right? And to analyze, I think about 50% of the folks that, we booked this bet are single. Is that not right? About half of our employees.
152 of the 580-ish people that are on the plan.
Say, what was that again?
152 of about
So you
580.
have more spouse and child and everything. So, no, again, it's complex, and you're guessing. We're guessing. But I mean, you're going to save 600 to 800 off that $7 million if our experience is the same.
That's the plan.
The experience is probably going to be, pretty close to what we're going to do again, at least 1 year.
Sure.
So, I mean, the numbers represented, it can be tweaked, and things can be done between now and then if everybody wants to step up from 50 to 65 to keep the deductibles. But hopefully the wellness program will offset some of the
Absolutely.
Exposure, and I think that's what we've been driving at. We got it in with the gift card, I think.
Yes, sir.
You can realize instead of paying that extra $15 a month, well, you can get that back and still be the same. But if you do, what we want you to do is take care of yourself.
Correct.
Come to work every day.
Correct.
That's another dollarization. You don't come to work every day because you're sick.
Hang on.
We've got to replace that capacity to serve the citizens. So my support, I think, I understand what you're trying to say, and I hope, give every consideration. It's just part of the ballgame that we have to play.
Mr. Deming.
Mr. Mayor, that $15 only represents 30% of the employees.
152 employees, that's right.
30%,
Yeah.
right. So the majority of the employees will bear a burden greater than that $15. 70% of the employees will bear a
How
burden.
many are spouse only? And my next question would be, how many are
Got
spouse only?
96 that are spouse, employee and spouse. You have 63 that are
Employee plus
employee
children.
and children, and 268 that are family. So you're talking 30% of the total aggregate of our employees will bear a burden of $15. The rest will be much greater than that. With regard to the 1 year not being a trend, it's an anomaly. It is. Out of curiosity, have we received any reimbursements with regard to COVID relief funds? Do we project to receive any COVID relief funds? There's tons of federal programs out there that have been giving them to municipalities, to hospitals, to different entities
For
to
healthcare
help
or-
offset the cost of COVID.
What we have received is $5.5 million, and we'll receive another $5.5 million, primarily to offset the revenue that was lost due to COVID. Nothing specifically for healthcare at this point, but who knows what's out there right now.
Right.
I mean, that could offset, that could be a target to offset, the $7 million that we're out of pocket. And, this is not over with. We hope it's over with, but I mean, that 1.2 cap is something that, we need to take a look at, because if we could be up at 10 million in a blink of an eye.
Sure.
Si, what are these wellness, tell me about these wellness checks. And the reason I'm asking is because I want to understand what the cost to the employee is. And I don't just mean the cost, I mean the opportunity loss, those types of costs, right? What is it, does it mean that they have to come in on a day off and spend their time going to a doctor to get $15? What exactly is a wellness check?
So we can design the wellness program any way you wish. But when I say any way, I really mean any way you want to. So just some typical components of a wellness program: participating in a health risk assessment, which you write down, what you're taking and your general health quality, answer some questions, get some feedback on that. We could do biometric screenings, which is something we've proposed with Blue Cross, something we proposed here that we're trying to make happen. We could even give employees credits for going to Dr. Tisdale's cooking show on how to cook healthy. I mean, we can do anything you want to do on that, and we'll get together and design that any way you wish. And that would start January 1st is the proposed date on that.
All right. Last thing, I'm just going to make a statement. This has nothing to do with you, Si, but with regard to these costs, this is not an enterprise fund, right? So this doesn't have to be self-supporting. This is a benefits package. This is a cost borne by an employer to retain or to attract employees. And so we are going to have to bear a cost. I would like to see any of these savings that we propose through this program be used to offset the costs of the premiums for the employee. They haven't received a raise in since 5 years, since 2016, and that was only a 2% increase. We can talk about hopefully giving them a raise in the future, but that doesn't help them when they have to pay a new premium. So I don't know that I support this right now without some modifications that are necessary to actually create a greater benefit for the employee versus the city. That's all I have.
Mr. Lawrence?
A couple of things. Y'all can pay the side. The reason we set up 4 tiers, when you do that, that's how you create more rebate money, correct?
I'm sorry, say it again.
On the 4 tiers, the reason we're doing 4 tiers is to create more rebate money.
Not necessarily. What you're doing with 4 tiers, for example, right now, you're paying the insurance company, the reinsurance company, currently you're paying them $94.14 for a family unit. Again, that could be employee spouse or employee child. If you broke it into 4 tiers, let's take this year. Your proposed family rate's $143, what you're paying for a family. Employee spouse is only $95, and employee children's only $84. So if you do have those 150, 160 employees that just have a spouse or just have children, why are we paying that extra money for the family rate on the reinsurance? So you're saving that money, and that's a hard dollar savings you're going to save every month for the employee spouse and employee child tiers.
Madam, that's one of the reasons, excuse me, we broke down and make it 4 instead of 2.
That's why we're doing 4 tiers instead of 2.
Okay. We had no problem with that. The other problem on the rebate money, and talk what they want about Blue Cross Blue Shield, did not rebate even close to what this company can get your money back on. They might give you $300,000, you got a shot at getting $868,000.
Well, the 868 is not
gives. They swallow the money. That's profit for them. They never ever give us that much money back.
The projected rebates with the new company are higher than what Blue Cross was giving us for the past 12 months. There's no rhyme or reason to what we get on rebates from Blue Cross. It will be very detailed and broken out with the new company, so we know exactly what you're getting and where you got it from. But I think the rebate number is closer to $100,000 projected to be higher than where we are with Blue Cross. The other savings are the specialty pharmacy.
And right now, like you said, we're down $1 million, and you could almost save that money with just the rebate money. If you go to 868 for next year, so you can almost offset the $1 million you lost this year. The other thing is, a key is they'll pay up to $25 a month for these services if everybody follows out. That's $300 more a year will come off people's insurance if they follow up on all of the wellness and the health care. It roughly averages about $25 a month, right? So
you can make that benefit whatever you want. That's something you're going to design, and again, it's going to be your money too that's paying the wellness program.
So when
the gift cards
some of these numbers, I did that, and that was in consideration that the city would step up and promote the wellness program. because we could save another $300, say roughly, per employee in the long run, you know. This
Right.
is just being tuned to the peer. I mean, what they do, because like you said, they contact you. Well, Blue Cross don't do that. This bunch is a total different setup. And the reason we changed them, because the connection with the employees, the connection with the city. Blue Cross, you can't really talk to them. You know, they're a powerful company, big company, stuff like that. But this company is probably backed by $117 billion, whether they are or not. I don't know. Nathan said he read something bad about them. I figure our biggest thing is all we can do is take a shot to see what we can do to try to save our program for the employees the best way we can. And there's a few steps that we can take will save money in the long run for the city and the employees. And funding this thing 80% or 120%, it doesn't mean anything. If we need another $1 million, it's got to come out the general fund anyway. So doing 120% really doesn't mean anything. It's still the city's money. It's still the employees' money. It's the system in the general fund. So whatever you do, it's still got to come out the general fund. Whether you put it on this side or put it over here, it's still another $1 million that you have to spend. Still going to come out the general fund. So how much you funded for really to me doesn't have a mean anything. You do well and it breaks even, fine. Cost you money, you have to pay it. But we pay that anyway. That's why we self-insured. And we do have a risk program. And it's good for the employees. You know, so I mean, that's why I said this proposed plan was like the minimum effect on most of the employees in the city. And yet it still add a little bit more money to the new plan. And if we can save $868, $868,000, that's pretty awesome. And
I do want to clarify that 868 is the best
Right,
case scenario. Projections are 608,000 based on what the pharmacy company.
And the other thing, if we don't do anything, say we stay with Blue Cross, Blue Shield, it will cost us $900,000 more per year.
Basically, you've been paying the cost of the specialty medications all these years because Blue Cross doesn't do this type of program. With this new scenario, the new PBM, they would be offsetting these costs through the patient assistance program.
You know, so that's one of the reasons we looked at moving this thing, because without another $900,000, pretty much just staying with Blue Cross. Besides their fees for individuals, it's up to $50-something per person now. So everything with Blue Cross is just going up price-wise. So we were taking the shot, and you brought this company to us, and you deal with them, and you're the insurance man we deal with. So we have to respect that you think this is a good deal for the city. So, that's some of the things that we made a lot of adjustments to try to save the program the way it is. And I'm like the rest of them, nobody wants to charge a whole bunch of money to the employees when they hadn't received a raise in 5 years. So that's why I did to me, the proposed thing was the minimum thing we could do would help the employees and keep the insurance plan we have, even though we do have a new carrier.
Mr. Barrett?
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Guns has.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Felix?
In case you forgot, over here by myself. I just don't have
I've been
Dick
looking,
surviving.
trying to catch your eye for the past 10 minutes, but you
Yeah.
never would.
You got something else?
Yeah, I've been waiting. It's been interesting listening to all my colleagues speak about the insurance. A lot of the questions each one of them spoke of, they pretty much answered a lot of the questions that I had. And I know the savings of up to $800,000.
Up to 868 on the specialty program.
That sounds impressive from what I'm hearing. But I have to go back to what Councilman Barrett said earlier, and I'm very concerned about the rating and the quality of support from this maestro versus who we're leaving. And of course, I'm seeing the same ratings that he's seeing on that. And based on what I've picked up, they only been in business, 5 years?
They were bought by AXA, who is one of the largest insurance companies, I believe in 2017. Don't quote me on that, but they were around before that.
17.
I can get you that figure.
Yeah, so we're talking 4 or 5 years.
They've been around longer than that.
Longer than that?
Around longer than that.
Okay.
I'll find that.
And of course, I looked at the things that we look at when we're looking at the quality. The Better Business Bureau, where it's showing that they don't have a accreditation yet?
If you're looking them up separately, and I'm no expert on that, but if you're looking them up separately, they're going to be under AXA, the
Okay.
AXA umbrella. So I don't know what,
by
can't speak
themselves.
for what you're looking at, but
Yeah, so by themselves, yeah. And the rating that I picked up was a C minus. So those are things that if, you know, I'm not ready to confirm anyone yet until I get some facts, because at the end of the day, like Councilman Deming said, we want our employees, if we're gonna ask them to pay a little bit more, we want them to make sure that they get their quality, because a lot of them are not in that high echelon of making directors type money, and they're making life decisions based on what they're bringing home, like Councilman Barrett said. And so the last thing we want to do is if one of our employees go to the hospital, get injured, or use their insurance, that the last thing we want them to do is have the aggravation of dealing with an insurance company about dealing with their physician, hospital, or what have you. So at this point, I have some unreadiness when it comes down to a company that we're just switching to that don't have the history yet. We know what we're dealing with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and of course, we know that they have a history there that we can go back on. But at this point, I don't see a deep history. So if you can get me some of that information, but at this point, I'm not ready to go along with an insurance company that, you know, that we, all practical purposes, I don't know. And I know some of my colleagues here, they're still trying to figure it out. We understand the money side of it looks good because there's a savings. But what are we sacrificing as far as the quality of support from and that's our insurance company. So that's what I'm afraid of.
sure. You want to speak? Yeah. Hey, this is, could she speak? Would that be okay?
Yeah.
This is Robin DiGiacomo. She
Sure,
works
Robin.
with us at BXS Insurance. Here.
Thank you, Robin.
Yeah, I just want to speak to the quality, to Maestro. Like he said, we've been in talks, invested in them, you know, a lot. But that set aside, I am the account manager for the city of Biloxi. So as far as the employees are concerned, I'm your go-to for that. So there is, you know, them dealing with Maestro is not something they're going to do. They're going to deal with me. If they have any issues at all, they'll come to me for any questions. So you won't have to be worried about, I'll deal with Maestro. I'll deal with a claim issue. That's what I'm here for. So I just want to make sure you know that, you know, we're not going to pawn you off to some insurance company that nobody knows, that we're still here, local, and we'll take care of whatever situations.
And also, too, you will get, I don't know if you try to call Blue Cross, there's one number you call, you're put in a queue. Sometimes it's immediate, sometimes you wait a little while, or you call Jill and HR. But if you were to call Maestro, you will have a dedicated phone number and a dedicated rep, so that they talk about their one-call resolution. It's very high. I don't know the percentage in front of me, but just understand it's not going to be throwing you to the wolves, putting you with some carrier that we don't trust, because frankly, you know, our name's on the line too.
Right.
And I totally understand your concerns, and I can get you any data that you want that would make you feel better.
Right.
And we can't write C-rated companies anyway, so they have to be A+. So we'll make sure that we get you that information on that. Okay. We're not allowed to do anything but an A+ rating.
AM Best rating.
AM Best rating.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tisdale.
Okay. Mr. Glavine, question?
Yeah, these are all great questions everybody's asking, and you should. But I assure you, this committee put a lot of hours, had the same questions, but I'm glad y'all are bringing it to the table today. At the end of the day, the expense, the insurance expense that the city pays, the city don't pay it, those taxpayers pay it. Those taxpayers that are paying for their insurance $700, $500 a month or more, they see what's going on here and they understand what we're trying to do. That's first and foremost. The raises for the employees, we got a responsibility. If we can give a raise to the employees, we need to make that happen. and we will. We've discussed it, we've looking at it, we want to give the employees raises, believe me. That's not a question, I don't think, by any of us, I don't think. So then it boils down to Maestro. Maestro is not just, we're not the only company or entity that is using Maestro. We have other companies, and we discuss that in our committee meetings, these other companies that are using them. So in addition to the reviews, perhaps, if it's not confidential, you can provide that information to some of the council members, so maybe they can reach out to those representatives if they'll just kind of say, how are you enjoying Maestro, or are they providing the services? On transparency, and I think the rebate question came up with the pharmaceuticals. We don't have transparency with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Cross Blue Shield, this is a business for them, and they know that they got us. They don't think we're going to switch, and I don't know if there's any Blue Cross Blue Shield people in here, but from our perspective, sitting on this committee for 8 years, there is no transparency on these rebates. We get a rebate, it comes through, and we may or may not have some detail on it. With Maestro or with the ProAct, we will get a month-to-month detailed rebate schedule on the drugs that we are getting rebates from. Not to mention, they're going to manage these drugs. We are out of industry norms on our drug use. And I hate to say it, I don't want somebody get this the wrong way, but our norms are way out of norms. We're a bunch of drug users, for lack of a better word, and we use a lot of drugs that are outside of municipal entities' industry norms, correct?
Correct.
Do you know that percentage? I know that,
so we didn't just randomly pick names out of a hat as far as who we were going to recommend. We did vet several TPAs, several different pharmacy benefit managers, and looking at the numbers, speaking on the pharmacy side, that we got back from all the different vendors, they were all, significant savings that were projected.
And this has been something that's been told to us year after year after year since I've been sitting on this committee, that we're out of industry norms. Councilman Deming, great question. Can we cookie cutter some of this stuff and use it? We asked that same question. Can we use ProAct and to manage our drugs? And the question is no. That's a Blue Cross Blue Shield controls that. They won't relinquish that. If they did, we'd say that 800 or 600 and something up to 800 and something $1,000. And we got to do something. Councilman Lawrence has sat on the committee with him the last, I think, 8 years, and believe me, he's all for keeping the premiums low, and he didn't want to change. And this is a pharmaceutical rep sitting over there, but he's recognized over the years that we got to fix this thing with Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's not the long-term answer. It's not. And I can tell you other companies that I'm familiar with in the hospitality industry are starting to move away from Blue Cross Blue Shield because they're sticking it to those businesses. So the raises, that's a separate issue. We need to work hard to try to get that done. As far as controlling the insurance cost and providing those services and everything, we got to try to make sure we got the best, whether it's Blue Cross Blue Shield, whether it's Maestro or some other entity, we have to make sure that that's right. And we are the custodians of taxpayers' money when we're spending all this money in insurance. And like I said, they're watching this right now. They know what they pay in insurance, and they're saying, y'all are paying $50 in premiums, and they're looking at their check today when that $500 or $600 or $700 is being deducted from their check. So I hope we come to a resolution on this thing. I hope we don't stay the same. I hope we move away from it. And again, the premiums, I'm not happy with these new premiums. That isn't what this committee talked about. The committee came up with a fair, very nominal increases, which your wellness credit would almost get you right back or even below what you're currently paying. And I understand when you came up here to make your public statement, I understand it. I would have been doing the same thing. But that isn't what we originally came up with on these premiums. So I just want to kind of get that in the record. That's it.
Mr. Barrett.
I have a couple more questions. Right now, we pay, and we've covered a lot, so you may have answered this and I missed it, But right now, we pay $25 copay for the doctor and $35 for a specialist, correct?
I think it's 25 and 25 right now. Same for the primary care and specialist.
Okay. And this new proposal, what will that be?
So we would be, let's say we did two plans. The first plan, the buyout plan would be identical to the plan we have now. That's the $1,000 deductible. The $2,500 deductible plan, again, this is your plan. You can make it how you want. I believe the proposed deductible, and I don't have the resolution in front of me, I believe it was $35 and $50, $35 for primary care, $50 for specialist.
So the base plan, which is the $2,500 deductible, would be 35 and the buy-up would be 25?
That's correct. To go to primary care, the base plan would be 35, primary care would be 25.
Okay. Okay, all right. And then prescriptions. Currently, we pay, I know we have several tiers. What would those deductibles or copays be versus what we're paying now?
Currently, when I say buyout plan, I'm talking about your current plan. So the proposed buyout plan for the 4 tiers, $5, $50, $60, and $80. That's been the same for several years now. Proposed for the base plan, $10, $60, $80, $100. So tier 1 and tier 2 go up. Tier 1 goes up $5, tier 2 goes up 10, 3 and 4 go up by 20.
Okay. And then my last question is it legal? Okay, so 2 parts to this question. First of all, the wellness visit, regardless of the outcome, and I'm pretty sure you covered this, that doesn't affect the insurance at all, correct?
When you say wellness visit.
So the wellness visit, so Mr. Glavin keeps referencing the wellness visits and the credits.
Wellness program. Let's call it the wellness
so
program.
If they go and they go and do whatever they're supposed to do, that whether they have to go and get a yearly checkup, that in no way can affect their insurance, correct?
It will not affect their insurance. If you're talking about the total cost, you get somebody healthier, they're not going to have as many claims. The city would save money that way.
Yeah.
There are programs, and this is up to y'all, where you could have these 2 plans and say if you want to participate in the richer benefit plan, you have to get a physical. Or you have to do X, Y, and Z.
So that's my question.
You can set that up.
Can we make, okay, so it's legal to make the wellness, whatever, wellness visits or wellness plan a requirement to be insured?
Not to be insured, but say you have 2 different plans. To participate in the richer benefit plan, it could be a requirement, or you could have, the exact same plan. You have a healthy rate or a wellness rate and a non-wellness rate, where the employees could save money by doing the wellness program.
Okay. And then, Mr. Leonard, I have a question, and I know that employee pay and raises and all that and this are 2 different things, but at the end of the day, the employees look at one thing, and that's the bottom line. Subtracting the upper level employees, directors and such, what is the average salary in the city?
Well, you got a pretty big range of different kinds of people, but I would have to say probably the average. Remember that we're sort of a pyramid.
Correct.
So if you get to the middle of that pyramid, you're probably talking about the $15 an hour is probably an average.
Okay. So to realize that bottom line, that's what they're going to look at. If you get 15 times 40 hours times 2 weeks. So to break even on this, we would have to give a 5% raise just to break even. And like I said, I know these are 2 different things, but at the end of the day, these employees look at the bottom line, especially those type employees that are making. And so again, going back, and I would like, and I don't know that we vote on this today or if we wait till next week to where we have more information on this company, and I'm sure it's out there just from when I went online, what I could see. But again, I think that we have an obligation. We're here in this room in the air conditioning, and like Mr. Kemp said earlier, there's guys out digging ditches at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. At the end of the day, that's the people that make this city go. We make decisions, but at the end of the day, the officers that are out there keeping the criminals off the street and the firemen that are going into risking their lives, going into burning buildings, are the ones that make this city what it is. And I think that we have an obligation to look out for these employees every chance that we can. And this increase, I'm not saying that I'm opposed to switching companies. I want to be able to do more research and get more data on that. But as far as this increase goes, I can't support it. I'm with Mr. Deming. At the end of the day, if we switch and we save 200 guarantee or 650 or the 836 or whatever it is, I'm for putting that money towards supplementing if that's what it takes. But that's just my stance. Like I said, I don't know if we vote today, but if we vote today in this present form, I'm going to be a no. But I am willing to look at this company further with additional information. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Mr. Deming?
Yeah, first, the question about the average income, it's great to understand that, but more importantly, what's the median income? The median income will give us a better gauge on how many people are adversely affected by the increase. The average is just the mathematical total divided by however many are involved, right? So the median is where we'll really gauge how many people are affected. We have salaries for directors that make over $100,000, which skews that average up. So the median, if it was $15 the average, I would guess the median is going to be around $31,000 a year. At $31,000 a year, for the family, the new premium decreases their disposable income that they receive every year by 4%, 3.5% to 4%. That's a lot of money. We haven't paid our employees a COLA adjustment, so they haven't kept up with the cost of living over the past 5 years, but we're asking them to reduce their salary by 4% to cover the cost of these premiums. And I get that the taxpayers cover this, and they're watching it, and they're our employees. I totally understand that. And if they're looking at their pay stubs and seeing how much they pay, I'd love to remind them that we have positions available because we need all the good employees, and that's what benefits do. They attract employees. There are benefits packages. We have to be stewards of not just our city, but we also have to attract the highest quality labor for the cost. And we have to do that with benefit packages. This whole plan reminds me of when I go to Kohl's and Kohl's receipt says, you saved X amount of dollars by shopping here today. But actually I spent that money, and the money has to come from somewhere. And in this situation, it's unfortunate that the money is going to come from the employees. So I'm going to continue my stance along with Mr. Barrett, and I have no problem with changing companies. I trust Bancorp South and the advice of Cy and your whole team, so I'm not going to doubt that Maestro has been vetted and they're competent. But I think the structure of how we fund the program, I think we need to reconsider.
Mr. Lawrence?
I'm going to go back to one thing that Mr. Glavin said. I've been selling pharmaceuticals for the last 60 years. And this is where the rebate money comes in. Most of y'all probably familiar with Neurontin, 800 milligrams. Comes in bottles of 500. The bottle costs the pharmacist $32 for 500. You know what the AWP is on that? $1,524. That's how they make all their money. Actually, it's $1,524.75. So that's why they can rebate you so much money, because they are charging a ton on a high AWP for a 500 bottle when it only costs $32 for the 500. So that's how you can create the 868, all this other money. They use the AWP, they like that, they outline. Some of the stuff costs $3 or $4, AWP is $300. That don't sound like much, but you ain't paying but $4 for it. So the money there is sitting there to be taken. And like you said, to go after it, and have somebody give it back to us that much, they could probably get more than that back. But they are making a ton of money. And Blue Cross Blue Shield is making a ton of money. And that's why they're not going to change. They're not going to talk to you. And I'm with y'all. If y'all don't want to change the thing, I did it as minimum I could to affect the employees, to keep the same insurance we have, and basically the general fund's paying for it. That's the name of the game. We call it self-insured, which we are. But I did the minimum to have some adjustment, and I think we need the 4 tiers, and we definitely need to change, because the way we sit right now is not working good for us. It'll be $900,000 more next year. You can write that down. So that's why I had the minimum we did, but it's up to y'all. You want to keep it the same? Fine. As far as this company, I'm like Robin. I agree with Si. I think they'd back up Robin, the lady here. She'll back it up. I mean, that's their job.
Council President, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to repeat something that Si said in his introduction, that we knew that we would have debate today on the various numbers per each category. Two main things we were trying to get today. We're trying to get okay to move away from Blue Cross Blue Shield, and okay to build a plan that is multi-tiered.
Dual option with 4 tiers, 2 plans, 4 tiers.
Those are the two things we hope to come away with. Today, the way the budget sits today, and I left to check to be sure this is true, it's based on the savings that we would get by moving companies. That's what the basis is. If we don't, we need to add another, Diana says, $800,000 into the expense side of the budget.
Mr. Guines.
Oh, he remembered me.
Yes, I did. Mr. Deming wanted to go before you,
Great.
but I'm looking out for you.
Well, listening to everyone talk, I'm almost glad that we had this two-part conversation. We talked about employee salaries that come out a whole lot based on what I'm hearing. And the question is, are we going to ask our employees to take another hit without giving them a raise in quite some time? You know, we gave directors some raises. So, Councilman Glavin, I'm glad you're in support of it. Maybe you'll support the millage if we can pull that up to give everybody a raise. So in saying that, right now, I still have some unreadiness, like I said. And Si, you talked about bringing us back some information. And based on what I'm seeing, I know that there's 2 and probably 3 that have some unreadiness right now. So to move this forward, I think it would be in order to move this, and I'll make the motion to move it, to hold it over till the first week of September or the next meeting to get more information regarding the Maestro company.
Okay, does that conclude your comments?
That concludes my comment,
Thank you, Mr.
but I do
Deming.
move it. If you
We'll get
entertain
to
it.
that in a minute, okay. Mr. Deming.
I'm going to second your motion. However, I think Si, were you going to point out something about the timetable?
Yeah, can I make that comment real quick? Ideally, we would like to have 60 days between when we make the decision and we actually enroll. As of today, we're roughly 37, 38 days away. So to make a move to Maestro, maybe we could do it next week, but my understanding is there's no meeting next week. Is that correct?
Is there a meeting next week, Dr. Tisdale?
There is no meeting scheduled for next week.
Okay. September 7th would, again, going back to the employees, I can't in good faith say that we could get it done in time. Jill needs to have people enrolled by the first, second week in September. So my, recommendation would be is if you want to stay with Blue Cross, and Blue Cross has been a good partner, I think there are things that we could improve on moving, but that's a separate issue. My recommendation would be that we make it a 4-tier plan because there are hard dollar savings that we mentioned earlier on the reinsurance. So we got to go from 2 tiers to 4 tiers, or you're going to be throwing away even more money. So my recommendation is to, if we can't make a decision until the 7th, maybe we table this till next year or a later date. But at a minimum, we need to make it a 4-tier plan. You can decide funding and what you charge the employees at a later date. But for our purposes moving forward, we would need that action taken, if that's possible.
Okay, Si,
Need to see what the
thank you for the information.
Here they're going to choose.
Right.
Plan.
So I'll just restate kind of what I already said. I mean, the people watching have seen us increase funding for tons of entities this year with our budget. They've seen us give the library system money to give their employees raises. They've seen us do a lot for a lot of other people. And we're here discussing hurting the pocketbooks of our employees. I think if there's a way to do it, I think that there's a consensus that we can move away from Blue Cross Blue Shield and move to Maestro. I think we have maybe a difference in opinion on how we fund these programs. So is there a way to effectively move to Maestro and table the funding mechanism, how we pay, how we extract the premiums from our employees?
Sure, absolutely.
If I could maybe, because I think I know where you're headed, and straighten me out if I'm not, but really you're looking for a couple of things today. We've covered a lot of ground. We're talking really about two things. The first is to leave Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and go with Maestro.
Maestro and NBCN and ProAct.
Because whoever we go with, if we're not staying with Blue Cross, Blue Shield, has got to get started for this open enrollment, okay? The clock's ticking. We're already short on time for that. The second thing is that we've talked about a dual option, the base plan and the buy-up plan, and then a four-tiered employee and spouse, employee and child, and employee and family, and there are real savings to be realized there. So what our task is at this point in time is to determine whether we go with Maestro today. And the second thing is, if we do, we can handle them in separate motions if you like. And if we do, then we need to move to a dual option, four-tier structure.
I need everything you said, except it's got to be 4 tiers. If you don't want to go to a dual option at this time, that's fine. That was just the recommendation that we came up with.
Right.
We've got to have 4 tiers, no matter what.
Right.
Okay.
Hang on, Mr. Deming, go ahead. I'll get to everybody again. Go ahead, Mr. Deming.
Would it be feasible to withdraw the motion to table and replace it with a motion to amend, and in that motion strike out?
Well, we've not had any motions yet. We're still in discussion,
okay,
but we'll come back to that, but go ahead.
Well, then would it be feasible to make a motion to amend and strike out the paragraph beginning whereas and ending in employee family on 195, taking out the premium, the set premium amount in the resolution, so we could address that at a different time while giving the authority to switch from Blue Cross to Maestro. That way we could discuss how we stipulate the premiums.
Point of order, you just can't ignore when someone give a motion. That's improper to do. Now, if he wants me to withdraw it, I will withdraw it, but you just cannot ignore it. That's a point of order, you just cannot ignore it.
When we're still in discussion, I'm not going to consider any motions.
And I already said I had my say on that.
I told you I would come back to you. So I'll come back to you, but thank you. We still have some discussion. Then I'll come back to you and you can make whatever motion you wish. Thank you, sir. Did you want to finish, Mr. Deming?
I think I did.
Okay. You have a comment or question?
So I guess my question is, the only way that you can move to Maestro is with a 4-tier program? They don't allow a 2-tier program?
No, you could keep your exact same plan, exact same contributions, keep it at 2 tiers, but you're throwing away money in hard dollar cost in the reinsurance program. Yep. Right now, if you look at that sheet that I gave you, just for example, and I can't find it, I got so much stuff up here. I think you're paying roughly I can't find it. To reinsure, for the reinsurance company, for a family tier, it's roughly $146 or whatever it is on that sheet. For employee spouse and employee children, it's roughly $50 less than that per tier. So why would we pay more for somebody who's truly just a husband and wife on the plan? We're allowing the city to pay less for the same coverage.
What those premiums are set at has nothing to do with the tier. So you could actually set all 4 of the premiums at the same thing, but what'd you call it? I'm sorry.
The reinsurance premium.
The reinsurance.
That's what the reinsurance company's charging us to have the reinsurance in place.
Okay.
And if you had a 2-tier plan, you would pay $138, $139 for a family unit. When we talked about, there's 160 current family units that are only employee spouse or employee children.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So just hypothetically, if we went to a 4-tier program, we could see a program that's $50 for an individual. We could see an employee child that's 90, an employee spouse that's 90, and a family that's 100.
However
that
you
would-
want to set
We would
it up.
still realize those reinsurance rates.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Correct.
That's all.
And that's with either carrier.
And just to clarify, I believe I mentioned at the very beginning of this discussion that these premium rates are still up for discussion. You don't need that information today in your motion.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. To clarify, when I say premium, I'm talking about what the reinsurance company is charging us.
Right.
When you're talking about the employee contribution rates, that's not a premium rate for sake of clarity.
But all we need is a structure today, whether or not to have a dual option, whether or not to have 4 tiers, and then whether or not to go with Maestro, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion for Mr. Guines. Your motion, sir?
My motion for what? I don't know, you had this, I thought you disregarded it, which was illegal. And so.
No, we
I
were
was
still in
just trying to
discussion.
figure out what
Discussion
was
is ended.
happening.
You wanted to make a motion. I'm giving you that opportunity
Yeah,
to
but
make a
you
motion.
disregarded it, so.
So you don't have a motion to make at this point.
Mr. Deming, did you ask me to withdraw it?
I did ask you if you would withdraw your motion.
Okay. Okay, and I'll withdraw my motion.
I'll withdraw my second.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion.
What will your motion be, please, sir?
My motion would be to amend the current resolution to withdraw the rates for the premiums per employee in different categories, tiers. Mr. Abide, could you advise me on whether that would accomplish the goal that we're attempting to accomplish? The task that we have is to amend this to convert from Blue Cross Blue Shield to Maestro and all of the affiliated programs while not setting the rates for premiums.
Are the prior motions they've all been withdrawn?
Correct.
Okay. And your motion to amend is to?
Is to
Withdraw the rates from the resolution.
remove the paragraph, whereas it has been determined in the best interest, blah, 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 all the rates down to employee and family of 195.
So
You want to keep the tiers but take the premiums out, Mr. Deming?
Specific dollars, yeah.
The specific dollars.
Yeah.
Right. That would also require removing,
Yeah, if it's to amend certain things within the existing resolution, that can be done just to make sure that it's going to accomplish through Mr. Easterling what y'all want to accomplish as well.
Just whatever. Sounds good.
So there's a motion to withdraw the premium rates mentioned in the resolution, correct?
correct.
I'll second it.
All right, there's a second by Mr. Glavin. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question.
Mr.
So
Barrett.
if we amend it to say we're moving from Blue Cross to Maestro and the prescription affiliate, whatever their name is, and to go to a 4-tier program, we don't have to decide if we're going to have a dual option yet, as long as we say that we're going to go to a 4-tier program, correct?
Ideally, we would like to know that, and that's not for me, but it's for loading this in the system, getting the EDI fees, doing all the IT stuff that has to be done that takes time. That'd be good to know. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. We could load it up later. That's totally a separate point of discussion, but the sooner the better.
Okay.
All right, so right now, the motion is to withdraw the premium rates mentioned in the resolution from that resolution.
Yep. So all we're doing is, Mr. Deming's proposal is, we're moving forward. We still have the 4-tier and the dual option. There's just no amounts.
Correct.
There's no premium amounts. That's all we're doing here, and I think we can all come together to say, what does that look like? Will the credit offset some of these increases, and does it, everybody gets what they want at the end of the day, I think. I think it will wash out that way, I hope.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, let me add to that. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Once we get to a situation, we get the specifics, populate to each tier and figure out, we're still going to, get the rebate in the forms, and we can push that back on top to calculate the premium. Does that make sense?
The rebate numbers are strictly based on making the switch to the new arrangement.
Right.
That's
Project that
it.
against the dollarization in each category or each tier.
All right, so there's a motion to withdraw the rates from the resolution. It's been duly seconded. Any other discussion? Mr. Deming, then I'll get to you, Mr. Lawrence.
I was gonna ask, Robert, are we not gonna do the 1,500 like it's been? I mean, you could always put that in and change it, but that's what it's been, 1,500.
What,
On the,
1,500, what are you referring to?
just like this, it's always been based $50 and $100.
2 cents.
Oh, 50 and 100, I thought you said
Yeah,
1,500.
that's what it's been, so
Okay.
you might just stick that in there.
Well,
You can always change that later. So it's the exact same thing, and we moving them from Blue Cross Blue Shield, and the program's always been $50 and $100.
So
List that for each one of those tiers.
if we were to do that, though, could we come back later and create a dual option in the middle of this?
If you wanted to, if you said you just wanted to keep one plan, that's totally up to you.
And go
Make
to-
it a 4-tier plan.
And go 4-tier, and so right now, so right now, we could go 4-tier and and I'm just talking out loud, and I would be willing to make this motion, but $50 for an individual, $90 for an employee spouse or an employee child, and $100 for a family, which would actually save an employee spouse that's now paying 2 individuals versus 6 or 7 or 8 or how many in a family.
120.
Yeah, it'd be $10 less, and then we could come back and amend and add a dual option later if we wanted to do that.
We could do a triple option. Isn't there one of the cities doing triple option?
Cities, Gulfport's have 3 options.
Yeah.
You can offer as many options
Whatever
as you
you
want, but
Well, well then I will, if you're gonna make a motion, I'll support withdrawing my motion if we're gonna remove the dual option for right now and retain the buy-up plan with those rates you're talking about. That would essentially give the employees the exact same coverage that they have at the same rate, but give the incentive to the spouse and child and spouse, employee spouse.
And we would keep the same deductibles that we currently have in place.
Right.
So if I understand correctly, you're talking about 4 tiers.
4 tiers.
But you're not talking about a dual option?
Correct.
A base plan and a buy-up plan?
Right. The dual option is still the buy-up plan. If we increase premiums, we're still penalizing the employees for getting what they've been paying for.
Okay.
They're gonna have to pay more to get what they were getting.
All right, so I'm trying to keep this straight for the clerk. Right now, the motion is to withdraw the rates.
That's a lot of red line.
Right now, the motion is to withdraw the premium rates in the resolution, and we have a second, and we were having discussion.
I'm gonna withdraw my motion.
All right, so that motion is gone. Did you withdraw your second, Mr. Glavin?
We need to clean up
Can I
the,
withdraw my second, Mr. Guines?
I don't know where we at. I don't have a damn clue.
I'm going to withdraw my second and my third. Yeah, I'll withdraw it.
Okay, so we're striking that, so we're back to square one, and let me remind you, just decide what you need today is to know whether we're gonna have 4 tiers and whether we're gonna have a dual option. That's all we're talking about. We can withdraw the premium rates. That's not a problem. We can discuss that at a later time. But when we're changing from one company to another, there's a lot of legwork that has to be done in HR, computer work, to get all this stuff set up to go with open enrollment here. That's what's driving a lot of this. So we can come back and talk about the premium rates at a different time. But we need to know, are we going to go with 4 tiers, and are we going to go with a dual option? Yes or no? And then we need to know if we're moving to Maestro.
Correct.
That's what we got to know today.
Okay,
for
so
right now.
do I need to make a motion, or do you want to?
I'll be happy if anybody makes a motion.
I'll make a motion to withdraw the premium rates and the mention of a dual option plan
And go to 4 tiers.
from the resolution, but retain the 4 tiers.
Okay, so that's withdrawn, and I thought Mr. Glavin withdrew his second. We're back to square one. So
That was
what-
a new motion.
All right, well, tell me what the new
The
motion
new
is.
motion is to remove the values, the dollar values for the premiums, strike the mention of dual option plan, and retain the four-tiered system.
And move from Blue Cross.
As well as move from Blue Cross Blue Shield to Maestro.
He said we can add that later. He said we can.
All right, so we're going to remove the premium rates, we're going to remove the dual options, we're going to retain the four tiers, and we're going to move to Maestro. That's the motion, correct?
That is the motion.
Is there a second? There's a second by Mr. Glavin. Discussion?
Just one question,
Mr.
maybe
Lawrence?
Peter. Do you have to have numbers in there?
For me, no. I just need authorization to move forward to get everything done on time.
Well, I'm going to say, we're not changing anything. That's what I'm telling Nathan. It's $50 for a single, then each other three are $100, $100, $100. So we're going to set this sometime or other? When are you going to do that? Don't you have to do this and it's set for a year? Once you do that?
My only comment on that, Mr. Lawrence, is if we do add this incentive to wellness incentive, which I think has to be part of any new programs, we're going to give people a credit back. So should we give them the incentive to actually may even go below what they're currently paying? You know, but keep it at give them that incentive. So if it's a 50, 100, 90, 115, 25, whatever it is, we still have that, we have the ability to give them that wellness credit. Go get your checkups. I think you do it twice a year, not just once a year. Go get those twice a year exams, and then maybe at the mid-year point, you get an incentive, and then at the 12-month point, you get a second incentive. But I don't want to muddy the waters, probably doing that with all the discussion we've had, but I think that's an important component. We've struggled with that, of getting people to go get healthy and go get those checks to reduce not only their cost and our cost, but to make our employees even healthier. So that's just my comment. It's whatever the pleasure of the council
To finish
is.
it up, I have no problem doing that, Kenny. That's all great. I'm all for that.
Okay.
I'm saying we're going to keep it the same. And it's $50 for a single, and the other three are $100 each. That's all.
Okay.
If you didn't, why that way the employees is the exact same thing you have now. You got four tiers, $50, $100, $100, and $100. That's all I'm saying.
Could I?
It's a pleasure.
If you go to a four-tier structure, then we are saving money on the employee spouse, employee child tiers. So there's really no reason to charge them the same when we could give them a break. In a traditional four-tier plan, the employee spouse, employee child pays way less than the family in a four-tier plan.
So when you say employee child, is that employee and one child?
As many as you want.
Okay, so so basically that's a
Not
single
two
parent
adults.
home then.
Single parent with dependent age children.
Okay. All right.
Any other discussion, Mr. Kynes?
Absolutely.
Saving the employee's
I'm hearing what everyone is saying, and so basically with this, you move this to, so we are actually going to Maestro, is what I'm hearing with this motion.
That's
right?
included in the motion, yes.
We're including in the budget, okay. But of course, I have some reservations, and like I said, I think it's not responsible for us. We're not doing our due diligence. We had some questions about Maestro, and I've asked some questions and I really didn't get an answer. And I think that giving a little time, he may can provide those answers. Right now, we don't have them. And I think it's not responsible for us to move forward on something when we haven't gotten accurate answers. So I'm going to be a no vote on it. Hopefully I don't get hammered this time. But I think that we should do our due diligence in knowing the ins and outs of the company first, and then, of course, moving in direction. I like what Robert and Nathan was talking about as far as moving to the tier levels. But again, based on what I've read and what I have so far, it's not enough for me. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any, Mr. Barrett?
Question. So if we were to and I don't even know if this is possible, but if we were to have a special meeting next week and pass this next week after you got us some additional information, would that be timely enough? Or even later this week?
I mean, the earlier the better, and I don't want to speak for the TPA because I'm not the one doing that side of the business, but I think we could make that happen in 30
If you got us the
days.
information the next day, we come in here Thursday afternoon or Friday afternoon, and it's a 2-minute just a formality, just come in and vote, knowing how we're going to vote, I'm not opposed to that. You know, just pushing this a couple of days, if everybody could make that meeting, that gives you time to get us stuff, for us to review it, to determine if we want to move forward from Blue Cross Blue Shield to Maestro, just for peace of mind, knowing that we're moving to a company that, you know, we can feel comfortable with.
That's fine by me, later this week or whatever date.
I can meet anytime this week. I can't meet next week, but I can meet anytime this week. All right, so we'll talk about premium rates at that time, is what you're saying?
No, I think he's just saying that we'll pass the resolution as amended if stands at that time.
Yeah, so basically, table this until Thursday, Friday, or tomorrow even. Just give us time for him to get the information and us review it, and then we come in and just vote on the 4-tier program, what those deductibles will be, and moving to Maestro, just to, as Mr. Guines said, to give peace of mind on the move from Blue Cross Blue Shield to Maestro.
I feel like we need to do our due diligence, and Thursday and Tuesday, it's to get it right. You know, we only have one chance to get it right. Just get it right.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Mr. Deming, would you like to withdraw another motion?
No, the motion is to amend the resolution, not to vote on the resolution itself. So we do need to take a vote to either adopt the amendments or not.
If we can get a vote to amend it, and then we get another vote to table it. So it's just amending the language in the original resolution, period. We're not passing it.
We're just going to
amending it.
table what we amended just now.
But we haven't voted on the amendment.
We haven't amended it yet because we haven't voted on the amendment.
Okay.
So let me hear the amendment. Who was making the motion?
I made the amendment.
He
Okay,
seconded it.
that was,
Switch from Blue Cross
that was
Blue
to remove the premium rates, remove the dual options, retain the 4 tiers, and to move to Maestro, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that's where we are currently.
That is
We got a
correct.
motion and a second by Mr. Glavin. So we're
Call for
ready
the
to.
question.
Beg your pardon?
Call for the question.
Please. All right. All in favor?
Wait a minute.
This is
I have
the
some
amendment.
unreadiness there. What are we voting on?
Just to amend it. We're not voting on the resolution at all.
Here's
Just-
the amendment. I'll read it again. The amendment is to remove the premium rates from the resolution, to remove the dual options mentioned in the resolution, to retain the 4 tiers mentioned in the resolution, and to move to Maestro as the third-party administrator. That's the amendment.
That's
Call
just-
the
that's
question
just-
to vote on the amendment.
That's right,
Yes.
just to amend.
That's correct. So we'll call for the question. Everybody comfortable? All in favor? It's a 6-0 vote for the clerk on the amendment.
Mr. Gons, would you like to make a motion to table
I move to table it again.
the resolution as
Again.
amended?
Hopefully I don't get gavelled again.
There's too much love in the room,
I'll second
but
it.
it's always handy.
I'll second
Thank
it.
you. So there's a motion to table, and there's a second by Mr. Glavin.
You're tabling it to when?
I guess we discussed to see
Till next week?
if anybody's available to meet.
For 1 week? Up to 1 week?
You can, I'm out of town all next week. You can meet without me. It's not the end of the world. I trust your judgment, collectively.
If possible, could we do it this week?
I'm available
Thursday,
this
Friday?
week.
I'm available anytime this week, except Friday night.
Well, I'll tell you, I will not be here Thursday. However, I agree with Felix, we have to do our due diligence. I agree with Nathan and their concerns. However, I also trust Cy. I'm sure you've done the due diligence. I wouldn't imagine that he would bring something to us that we wouldn't. And I'm not belittling your desire to do due diligence. I just don't know that I could find anything in 2 days that would change my mind, especially if we're asking for the information to come from the guy that's presenting it to us, right?
Well-
So I'm just saying logically, it's not in your interest to send us information that would dissuade us from adopting Maestro. So in that sense, it's a fool's errand to table this
Friday
any
morning.
further.
What I
Friday
would,
morning? Can we do it Friday morning?
Next,
Meet Friday morning, what time, 11 o'clock?
that's, gonna be
11
fine.
o'clock.
You gonna be here? When can you
11
be
o'clock
here?
Friday
Gonna be
morning?
here Friday, Rob?
I'll be here
Can
whenever
you
you
be
want.
here Friday morning? Or you wanna do it another
Sounds
day?
like Friday morning.
11 o'clock.
Friday morning, 11 o'clock is when we'll meet to resume this discussion. Si, you're good with that? Your calendar?
What day was that?
Been Friday.
Friday, this Friday at 11 o'clock?
Friday at 11.
You gonna be here, Robert?
My schedule is open as of now.
Okay.
We got to publicize that, right?
So we do 11 o'clock Friday morning.
11 o'clock Friday morning. Okay, there's a motion to table by Mr. Gaines, a second by Mr. Glavin. All in favor? All right, that's a 6-0 vote to table for the clerk. All right, I sound like Paul Harvey. Page 3. Consent agenda, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Barrett,
Second.
second by Mr. Gaines. All right, I'm going to start with Mr. Gaines. Any,
I'm good.
okay. Mr. Lawrence, anything?
Yeah, there's one of them there's a question I have to,
Come on, George, break your record.
I'll come back to you, Mr. Lawrence.
is there another one that,
Go ahead. Mr. Deming, anything? Mr. Barrett, anything?
sir.
Mr. Glavin, anything?
I have nothing.
I have nothing.
the one was, I. India,
Crowley.
Item I,
yeah. What do we, the professional service, what do they supply? Crawley Emergency Service and Consultant.
Michelle Grant.
Michelle Crowley, former assistant deputy fire chief, and that's her consulting company that we're hiring
And what we doing there?
Or grant.
to write
You hired
grants.
for what?
Finished the grant, I think. Finished the grant.
So this is just bringing Michelle Crowley. She used to be a battalion chief with the fire department. She was our grant writer. It's just bringing a contract with her to set her fees to where when she writes us a grant, they're an established fee. It's a formality to make sure that she's not overcharging us and we're not underpaying her.
So we paying her to write grants for the fire department only?
Fire department and other, this will actually contract her for other departments within the city also. They can use her services.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And what is the one M? I know this is one of your favorite thing, the court system. They said you rescinded this thing. What we doing here? You not
that's
doing it?
item number N, we took bids on computers, and then, as I understand it,
Yeah, Mike
the
and Mike.
price for the computers came in and a bid was not required. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. You may want to explain that to Mr. Lawrence, Mr. Abide. Thank you.
There was a prior resolution, transferred some money. We got the bids. Bids were below the limit, so we don't need to transfer anything. It can all go within the budget.
They just rescind the original resolution.
Getting rid of that transfer.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Lawrence?
That's it.
All right, we'll call for the question. All in favor of the consent agenda as presented? It's a 6-0 vote. Any exceptions, Mr. Gaines? Mr. Lawrence, any exceptions?
None.
Mr. Deming? Mr. Barrett? Mr. Glavin?
I have none.
Good, all right, Mr. Creel. Code enforcement hearings. This At this time, we'll open a hearing for 156 Coon Street. Ramona Scruggs, is there anybody here to speak on this matter?
That case has been resolved.
Thank you. Next case is Timothy P. and Maria L. Taylor, 2239 Club Moss Circle.
The property is still in violation.
Is there anybody here to speak on this matter? There being no one, this hearing is closed. We'll open the next matter, Cynthia S. Joachim, 121 Hopkins Boulevard. Is there anyone here to speak on this matter?
Still in
Yes, ma'am.
violation.
Ms. Joachim, please come forward so we can get you to a microphone. Thank you.
The house will be torn down. J.O. Collins has been retained for the services.
Okay, thank you. At this point, Mr. Creel, we don't dismiss this or anything. We still move forward.
Yes, sir. I would recommend that we go ahead and approve the resolution, just in case for whatever reason.
Sure.
The demolition does not go through. It would keep us from having to go all the way back to square one and starting all over on the case.
You don't require a vote on this, or do you? You do?
I would ask y'all to go ahead and vote on it.
Okay.
What did she just say?
She just said she's having.
She said she's hiring a contractor to come in and demolish the structure.
There ain't nobody been by that property in 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely move forward because she ain't gonna do nothing. 90 days, she ain't even been there. You give her 60 days land time, Paul, she ain't been there since them 60 days.
Right, I think we're ready to.
The house is still wide open.
Are you going to make the motion, Mr. Lawrence?
Wouldn't we just close the case?
Say again?
You can make the motion,
Close the case.
right?
Exactly.
So keep moving on,
Put on
yeah.
anything. He would just close
I believe all we've done, or typically we do, is just close the hearing and we're done, and Mr. Creel looks forward.
Yes.
So if there is anyone else to speak on this matter, that being the case, this hearing is closed. We'll move to the next hearing. We'll open it for Othelia Cavazos, 142 Keller Avenue. Mr. Creel.
This property is still in violation. However, they did start working on it yesterday. They do have a permit, but I would also ask the council to move forward with the resolution. If for whatever reason they stop working on the building, then we could proceed rather than have to go back and start all over.
All right, is anybody here to speak on this matter involving 142 Keller Avenue? There being no one, this hearing is closed. That brings us to the routine agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lawrence.
Second.
There you go. Second by Mr. Glavin.
All right, well, give it to Big Nichols.
Thank you, Council. Last time we met, I discussed having MEMA coming with reimbursements of $3.8 million. On Monday, we received $1.7 million of that as part of our first tranche, and we will have another $2.14 million coming within, hopefully, this week. So it's looking good. MEMA's doing really well working with us and getting our reimbursements and advances.
Do we have anything else in the pipeline after these?
We are working on with MEMA with another, I believe, $700,000-800,000 of monies right after that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion on the routine agenda? Is a motion and a second. All in favor? 6-0 vote for the clerk. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lawrence. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? 6-0 vote, carry. All right. We'll take a 10-minute break, and then we'll begin the budget workshop. Thank you.